Welcome back to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Story-wise, we're halfway through the game now, and last time we beat up the Death Egg and now it's crashed back onto the Angel Island, so for the latter half of S3 and K we're pretty much just going to be cleaning up Robotnik's mess, really, which is always nice.
Yeah. I like that description. You make it sound like we got in a fist fight with the Death Egg itself. That would have been... that. Why wasn't that the final boss of this game?
Why wasn't that in Generations? That would have been amazing.
Oh, why wasn't it in Sonic the Fighters? We could just list off all the games.
Why wasn't it in Knuckles Chaotix, the list?
Now, the Chaos Emeralds are meant to be appearing here, but I don't know, YouTube has a problem with, like, Genesis emulation, I don't know.
One thing I'll say, if you never, when you get to this section of the game, if you never enter a golden ring, you can just stay at Super Sonic until Doomsday Zone and still complete the game that way.
But if you say get one emerald, it will lock out Super Sonic until you've got all the Super Emeralds.
Exactly, which is why I like to keep with my official game canon. I like to just stick with Super Sonic, because as we all know, Hypersonic doesn't exist.
I wanted him to come back so badly for colours.
Oh, that was close.
It was perfect. It was the right time. Fuck you, Steven, I'm having a moment here. You can't silly this shit up. And the colours felt so right, but apparently the timing was not. Okay, now you can go back to being silly.
It would have been awesome just to hit an arrow and go Hyper! That would have been amazing.
Now, do the Chaos Emeralds turn into the Super Emeralds? Is that what happens?
Yes.
Maybe?
I'm not too sure about that answer, but I think so.
Well, see, I don't, because they're referred to as the Super Emeralds, which to me makes it sound like they're a different thing entirely. But
well, in STC, the Super Emeralds are basically the Chaos Emeralds as they're meant to be. Like when Sonic had them, they were the little ones, but they're meant to be all gigantic like this.
But why do they go back to being normal? I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
Maybe it's because they've been brought back to the place where they're meant to be. They just start going back to normal.
No, guys, I got it. I've worked out. The answer is fuck you. That's why.
Fuck you, Hillzone, Act 1.
I was just gonna say it's a video game, but that works.
Now, one thing I would just say is that in the beta version of this level was called the Mushroom Valley Zone, which I prefer that name just because it makes it stand out from the standard hill, trope of the Sonic games.
But a valley is typically like a long, stretched out area where there's like no trees and shit like that, but, clearly this is not a valley, so I don't like that name.
I will say the Mushroom Hill theme is one of my favorite themes in all of Sonic's history. I was so happy when they brought it back for New Generations 3DS, just so we would get a classic and modern remix of this song.
I love the classic remix of it.
So I'll say one thing that this song does is that if you have this on your iPod, if you listen to the separate sides, they're actually playing the song at a different pitch, which creates the overall melody, which was an idea they did for a handful of songs in this soundtrack, which they haven't done since, but I thought was actually a really interesting concept to do musically.
Now, there's loads of special stage rings in Mushroom Hill, both Acts 1 and 2. So many, in fact, that you can actually get all the Super Emeralds first time around. And I think if you're playing with Knuckles, there's 2 more opportunities. Overall, there's I think 3 in the first act and 4 in the second.
Yeah, it makes sense because unlike Sonic 3, the Knuckles half isn't as plentiful with the rings, because I think once you finish Lava Reef Zone, there are no more rings. So if by the end of when you enter Hidden Palace, you haven't got all the Super Emeralds, you're pretty much fucked.
So Tom, do you get all those Super Emeralds?
Do I get all the Super Emeralds in Mushroom Hill? No!
Jeez, Tom, do you even lift?
Do you even spear?
They're pretty big emeralds, of course I'm not going to be able to lift them.
No, how did you guys think about the special stages in the Knuckles section? I think the ones in 3 are better overall. How about you guys?
I never play as Knuckles, so I don't really know how that works.
Well, no, just Sonic and Knuckles half, he's saying.
So how do these 7 special stages compare to the 7 from Sonic 3, Steven, for you?
They're harder, and they're more confusing, and they throw more curveballs at you. I don't like them. No, sir, I don't like them.
Yeah, Stephen basically said what I was thinking. They're a lot less straightforward than the ones in the free half of the game, so that's basically where the difficulty comes from. Personally, I like them.
Yeah, that's what I like about them. They're more of a challenge. You have to use your brain in them.
Yeah, I mean, they aren't dickish or anything. They're just more harder, which it makes sense in context when you play this game as a whole that these would be harder than the ones from 3. Now, in this, as I mentioned earlier, the Generations 3DS, when they basically stole this level layout for the classic level, there's a checkpoint right before that checkpoint. They're right before the boss, which they kept in, even though there was no mini boss in that level, which is a great job there, Dims. Great job.
You'll be seeing that when we get to it next month, but basically you hit the checkpoint and 2 seconds later you hit the goal signpost. It's funny as shit.
Thank Christ we survived that deadly 2 seconds, lads. We're alive.
I feel bad for that mini-boss. He wasn't doing anything.
He was chopping down the trees, okay? What were the trees doing?
They're already chopped. Look at them.
He's making houses. He's making houses, man.
Oh, gotta get these trees out of the way so we can build this orphanage.
Gotta drop trees. There, down. Gotta drop trees. Gotta drop trees. Trees.
You know, as a kid, I've always wanted to have this happen to me. Just be launched in the air and go flying like that.
Yeah, but because they're in a game where you'd fall down and just break every bone in your body, I say let's do it to Scarlet. No, in terms of specific level gimmicks in say all the classic games, this to me stands out as one of the most interesting. The fact that the seasons change, and again they kind of applied it in the modern stage of Generations 3DS, but Act 2 is all in the autumn stage. I wish they would have kept it like this one and go to winter at the end, but that's just me.
I think you're expecting a bit too much of Dimps there, to be honest.
To be fair, like everyone, they were given 8 months for that game, and for 8 months, that's a pretty impressive final product.
Brah is what I say.
What else do you say? Say something.
While not on the same level as like the splicers or the crab hammers or whatever they're called, there are some really dickish badniks here, especially if you're, too focused on going fast.
Yeah, I was watching you run around without a shield, and I was starting to get a little, antsy about it.
Well, to be fair, they don't really hit you, they just knock you back, usually. Except for that one badnik, that one right there. I forget its name off the top of my head. But this guy right here, he'll just blow you back.
Yeah, that guy gives the worst blowjobs ever. LOL, sex joke, lols.
The 7 grey emeralds. They're all the control emerald.
Exactly. That's one thing I liked about the Chaos Emerald lore from to go back to a sexy transmitted Sonic for a second. It's that in the STC universe, the Grey Emerald was the most powerful and controlled all the others. I wish they'd kind of maybe bring that back into the game canon, but let's face it, that never happened.
What is it with you guys in STC?
Because you don't understand it, Scarlet. If you were to get that as a kid, it would live with you forever, man. Because we didn't have no crappy romances between Sonic and a squirrel. We had like a bunch of Metal Sonics take over the planet. We had the best thing about STC, right, is that there's a big time travel plot line where you realize Sonic has to go back in time and create Robotnik in order to save the world. That's some messed up shit, and as a 6-year-old, that blew my mind.
Everything was just handled with, it's kind of cheesy to say dignity, but it was just handled with respect, and it wasn't cliched and, well, for lack of a better word, bullshit, really, like it was in the early Archie comics.
That isn't to say that the whole of STC is pure genius, because even the writers themselves will admit when they fuck up. It's, for my money, it's far more faithful to the games than pretty much any other media of Sonic. It's more faithful than any of the other cartoons or comic books. But enough about talking about STC. Let's move on to the boss. Shut up, Scott. I love that comic. Let's get into it now. This is a kind of interesting boss, because this is, at this point in the franchise, extremely original. The idea of chasing Robotnik as he flees would, of course, be taken and just used for every single boss in Sonic Advance 2. But at this point in time, this was kind of revolutionary. It's kind of one-sided because only one of Eggman's thrusters is working. So I feel kind of bad that Tom's just destroying him.
That's another graphical glitch caused by YouTube.
No, it's not, Tom. You just beat it on the disabled, you bastard.
This is the first time I've ever noticed it, but the climate changed when you busted that satellite that was transmitting that disease.
Yeah, that's what causes it.
You never that disease. Eggman just gave Mushroom Hills on chlamydia, and that's why it turned brown.
And on that note, we'll see you next time in the Flying Battery Zone. See you then.